and 2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peter Chevrolet.
Medlock, they fake it to him. James Keeper off the left side, breaks the tackle, into the secondary, skips away, and he will score. Touchdown, Duncanville.
Here's David Smoke.
Can you believe we are down to the semifinal round? Class 1A, the six-man teams already have their championship game set. They have this week off, and they will start all of next week, Wednesday through Saturday. The Texas High School Football Championship week at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And we'll look at the best games for this week, the semifinal games. There are some bangers, as I call them, big boy games. And then also a couple of other notes, a couple of personal notes for me. And we appreciate your time. Thanks to Peter Chevrolet and all of our great sponsors. Garrett Ross producing our weekly statewide high school football podcast. Initially, when I heard this story that Scott Stewart was stepping down as the head coach at Temple, initially I was like, why? And I started thinking about this, and I have not talked to Scott because I'd gotten back from traveling, but I do plan on doing that. We're not going to have him on as an interview because coaches come and go all the time. I know that it's a big boy job. It's a one-horse town job. I already know, in fact, that a multi-state championship coach is at least more than interested in taking the job to replace Scott Stewart. I also know that Chad President, star player there, and then also was their offensive coordinator this year, former Tulsa quarterback, I would think has to be one of the favorites, too, because of the fact that he's an alum there, played there, and was on the staff this past year. But Temple's Scott Stewart steps down 71-36. He took over for Mike Spradlin, who, of course, was a part of that Art Briles coaching tree with what he did on Briles' staff at Houston, and then he was at Temple, Rockwall Heath, among some other places, and did such a great job to explore new coaching opportunities. I wonder, 2 years ago, Temple was 1-9. It absolutely cannot happen in Temple, Texas. There are certain places you just can't do that. And I wonder as well is that District 12 6A, which seems like it's somewhat contained, changes every once in a while, every other year with realignment. They're locked into playing the district that has Duncanville and DeSoto, and Waxahachie, of course, has gotten really, really good. And I just wonder if getting to the playoffs is one thing, knowing you can make a run. That doesn't mean you give up. Doesn't mean Temple or Midway or Harker Heights or others can eventually play head up with those teams because they used to. But it hasn't been the case of late. And if that might have just eventually wore him down or other coaches who have left this district. He's a graduate of Troy High School, just north of Temple, in between Temple and also Waco. This one hit me. Remember earlier this year, I had an interview with Mike Owens, the former Robert E. Lee high school football coach. He is a Port Arthur Jefferson grad. He was also an assistant coach there back when, in fact, Todd Dodge, we had him on earlier, when they had that 1981 state championship finalist team that lost to Permian. Mike Owens then played at Tulane, then became the head coach at Jefferson. Craig Stump, who joined us, the head coach at Atascocita. Kenny Harrison, the head coach at Summer Creek. All of that tied in together earlier this year. And we had Mike on the show. He was the head coach at Lee High School for 15 years. I did every game that he was a head coach at Lee except one when I went out to Lubbock to visit Jennifer, our daughter, at an event she had at Texas Tech. Mike Owens passed away earlier this week. I love that man. I have done relationships, in fact, with coaches we'll have on the show today, with Ty Robinson at Woodville and Don Hyde at La Vega. I have broadcast games for a lot of different people. Mike Owens was one of a kind. He was transparent. His opinion was his opinion. If you didn't like it, well, then you just didn't have to listen to him. That doesn't mean that he was over the top. He just told you exactly how he felt. He joined us earlier this year to discuss his career. And I had heard that Mike was struggling. I had talked to him a couple of times prior to that, and he passed away on Monday night in 2004. And guess what? We're recording this on a Wednesday. Today is the 20th anniversary of when Lee beat Spring Westfield in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio to win the 5A Division I state championship. And he passed away on Monday. His wife, Kathy, his son, Jordan, Ashlyn, his daughter, and he has 2 sons. And golly, Mike Owens was special. He passed away, had a hell of a record at Lee, but also in his career. There's a kid named Bryson Rowland, a running back at La Vega High School. We're about to talk to Don Hyde. Look at this video. This is from Chad Valtherine from KWTX. This is Bryson Rowland. He's like trying to tackle an electric eel. He is unbelievable. He had 301 yards in a win against Sealy. He has the school record of 304. He's having a huge year. La Vega is about to play Wimberley in the semifinals, and here he is again. Just in the open field, forget about it. He also can squeeze through tight holes when it comes to what he can do as a running back. He was really good in the win against Sealy. He's really good all of the time. More on him in just a moment. Best wins from last week. North Crowley beating Allen to me was not a surprise, but they are trying to do something in Fort Worth that hasn't been done in a long, long time. Win a state championship. They beat Allen 35-7. 2 programs that we have featured this year with Ray Gates, the head coach there, and also Lee Wigginton at Allen. It was surprising how much they won by. Also, Longview. I was in Florida visiting my 2 brothers, and I started to see this score come down. Then my son-in-law Daniel texted me with Longview with bulging eyes. 50-14 over DeSoto. 2 schools we featured this year, John King at Longview, and then also Claude Mathis at DeSoto. DeSoto is a 2-time defending state champion in Class 6A Division II. Longview ran for 442 yards. Kelvin Washington had 280 of it and scored 5 touchdowns. DeSoto's really good, but Longview spanked them. Denton Ryan beating Aledo. Anytime somebody beats Aledo, that was a rematch when earlier year Aledo won. Denton Ryan with a huge win to move on to play Highland Park. We'll have the games, this weekend's games for you later in today's broadcast. South Oak Cliff hammered Port Neches Grove. Good friend of mine, Sean Hunt, had somebody on the Port Neches Grove staff. They felt like this could be the year that they could take out South Oak Cliff. Nope. 56-14. Richmond Randall, I mentioned them because they're they've never been to a state championship, and they're still alive after the win against Iowa Colony, Malakoff beating Liberty Ilo. Not a surprise, but 35-0 with the kind of speed and weapons that Liberty Ilo has with head coach Brad Willard. Woodville 40, Dangerfield 7. Another what? Woodville beat them up. And I got a note with Dangerfield coach Davin Nelson sent me a note what he thought about how good Woodville is. Hamilton, they've never been this deep in 2A. Beat Axtell 15-14 in a 2-point conversion. And Joaquin's a 4th-place team. A 4th-place team. And they beat Honeygrove 46-22. And also Oakwood over Oglesby in 6-man. Kyler Fawcett had a big game for Oglesby. But Oakwood, a lot of turnovers in that game. They advance in Class 6A. When we come back, Woodville football coach Ty Robinson, also Don Hyde from La Vega, as the Pirates are trying to get back in a state championship game. They've done that a little bit lately. And we'll also have the best games of the week. This is the Statewide High School Football Podcast, powered by Smoaky.com and 365 Sports.
When you need power, performance, and head-turning style, you need Peters Chevrolet. Check out the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado. 1.9% for 36 months with discounts up to $10,000 off on custom crew cabs. 2024 Silverado prices starting at $36,995. Whether you work hard or play hard, take your pick out of the largest selection of new Chevrolets at Peters Chevrolet. Online at peterscars.net. Peters Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
New arrivals just dropped at Barefoot Campus Outfitter in Waco. Looking for the best Baylor gear? Barefoot is the place to grab your gear. Game day polos, tees, tanks, caps, clear stadium bags, jewelry, and more. Barefoot Outfitters has all the essentials with unique campus apparel and offering comfortable garments and designs. Long-lasting images that people continue to enjoy wearing time and time again. Located right off I-35 on Spate, or shop at barefootcampusoutfitter.com and get free shipping on orders $75 or more. Go Bears!
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgin Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosing and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries. Celebrating over 2 decades of service to Central Texas, they tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. And when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday morning for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House and unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. Texas Beef House now hosting twice monthly live auctions where you, the customer, set the cost of what you want to pay for ribeyes and New York strip, fillets, flat iron, brisket, tri-tip. So look online, TexasBeefHouse.com, and popping up will be the live auction dates coming up. Stay connected. It's TexasBeefHouse.com. From their pasture to your plate, twice monthly live auctions, TexasBeefHouse.com.
He is the head football coach of Woodville, the Eagles. Ty Robinson with me, David Smoke on the statewide high school football podcast. Hey, man, good to know you. I've known you since you were coaching early on, back when you got the job at Overton, but you've been elsewhere too. Ty, why this year? This is the deepest run ever. You and I have discussed that a little bit. Why this team is in a position where you are a win away from a state championship trip?
I think the biggest thing is these kids, they've really embraced the idea of team. And, we kind of had a dark moment there in the middle of the season with when we lost to Newton there at the start of district. And, at that point we were winning games, but I can't say that we were a very good team. Had some dissension, some selfishness and lack of accountability. And then we had one day where we didn't practice. We just sat in a dressing room and we got everything out in the open. And, it didn't fix it at that point, but it kind of started towards the role to bringing these guys together as one unit. It's something we've harped on really for the last 2 months. And we've really been playing complete complementary football really since the playoffs started. And the good thing is I still don't think we've played our best game yet. Mm-hmm. I still think we have a lot of room to improve. And, we won pretty handily last week, but we left points on the board, missed a lot of tackles, had some miscues in the kicking game. So I still think we have a lot that we can improve on.
You win 40-7 against one of the great logos and brands in high school football history, and you're not happy.
I'm not saying we're not happy. I'm just because I think what you have to do this time of year, especially when you're at a place that has never really had we've had success. I've been here for 9 years and we've been really good, but this is by far our deepest run. And, when you start making school history and doing things like that, complacency, I think, can be a big enemy. I think, because now everybody's coming in, they're patting you on the back and telling you how good you are. And as soon as you relax and you start to listen to that, and not that people aren't wishing us well, not that we don't appreciate that, but as soon as you let that disrupt your focus, your preparation, then you're going to get beat, because every week the competition gets better. This week, especially with the short week, with the way the state championships are set up, you kind of have to get on a Thursday schedule, and so you have a short week of preparation, and I think that's really dangerous, and I feel like we've done a good job of that this week. We'll see tomorrow night.
Yeah, you've been to the playoffs. You mentioned that. You have had teams that were pretty good, but here's some teams that have knocked you out. You gave me this information: Cameron Yo, Rockdale, Grandview, Lorena, a couple of years ago, Hitchcock, and then even Franklin. We know they've been a battering ram. Grandview had their great run. Columbus back in 2020. You kept knocking on the door. How frustrating was that, knowing though you were playing the best of the best and you were so close at the same time?
It was really frustrating, and so we had my first 8 years, 7 of my first 8 years, we got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs by those teams that you mentioned. I think 5 times that those teams went on to win a state championship, and we had some really, really good teams. We had some really, really good players, and it was just frustrating because we didn't have. I feel like we were better than our record showed, and certainly in our area here, little 409 area code, I think we've got a lot of respect. People understand where we were at before we got here, and where we were competing at a pretty high level up to that point. When you got where you're at around Central Texas, where I'm from, I'm a Bremond boy. People never really heard of Woodville, and this year we had dropped the division, and that's something else that was real frustrating. During all those years, we were right there on the Division I, Division II cutoff, and we might be 10, 15 students over the enrollment number when we do snapshot day, and then by the end of the school year, we'd be 20 under. In our 2022 team that was really, really good, we were, during football season in 2022, we were 20 kids under the Division II cutoff that year. And, I think now we're instead of being at the bottom end of the enrollment deal, we're at the top end. And I think, this would have, I'm not saying we wouldn't have been just as competitive if we were in Division I. Our kids right now have really, really gotten better as this year's gone on.
No, I think back when they went to like 6A still does it the way they do it. 4 teams, the top 2 enrollments go up. But when they split everybody else beforehand, it has seemed to have brought to me longer runs of even like dynasties, because the larger schools are playing against each other, but you see a lot of the same teams winning the state championship. But like, for example, Lorena, just south of here, they were 4A and really good. And then they dropped to 3A Division I, and they won a state championship in the first year. That doesn't mean they couldn't have done that in 4A, but we have seen that quite a bit, and it does make a difference. Even at the classifications don't have like 2,000 or 3,000 students. I know Davin Nelson, the head coach at Dangerfield, and I want to read you what he sent to me about your football team, if you don't mind. Woodville has a very talented defensive line. Their ends were better than they appeared on film. They still look good on film, but don't get me wrong. Number 3, dang near single-handedly beat us. Is that Hunter?
Tavion Hunter, yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. And then also, he just talked about the best running back we've seen all year long. The top speed is great. The size and strength makes up for what they may not have in certain places. Was Hunter running the football for you most of the year, or is that something you've just started to do with him?
No, we had we do a little goal line package that we've had him in all year long, and we honestly didn't know what he could do. We had our big back Dustin Barlow got a little bit banged up in the second against Grand Saline, and he's a hoss. And Tavion, we call him Tay-Tay. We put him in against Grandview, and his first carry was like, oh, my Lord. Well, we'll tell everybody we were just kind of saving this for the playoffs so we don't look stupid. But you talk about a kid who I've coached this kid for 6 years and never missed a summer workout. He's never missed a practice, just a grinder. And And if you watch some of his defensive highlights, he's an absolute freak show. And he has no offers. Well, he has one offer from Saul Ross State. Is he a little bit undersized? Yeah. I mean, but he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He can play for somebody. There's colleges giving up 40 points a game, and I guarantee you he can play for them.
Yeah, I've heard such good things about him. And, I ask you guys annoy the hell out of coaches every weekend, like 3 or 4 times about players of the week. Barlow, of course, has been a part of that. And then with what Hunter has done. Ty, you said, we knew you were a Bremont Tiger. We know their history. They're still playing right now with Jeff Kozowski and his team. How much of being a part of that program was a part of your blood the rest of the time you were a coach and still today?
It's probably put into that DNA, and it's kind of crazy because I was born in Stamford, Texas.
Oh, good. Yeah, they're unbeaten. They're playing. Of course, they've won a bunch too. Yeah,
and that's where my dad went to high school. My dad played. His high school coach at Stanford was Gordon Wood.
Okay, yeah, know him. Yeah.
So we would go to family reunions and stuff, and this old guy. I mean, I'm a kid. I don't know anything about this. This old guy was always there. He coached my dad and 2 of my uncles, and then of course, Dad was our coach when I was in Bremont. So, how much of that I take, I don't know. I mean, I got 50% of my dad's DNA. We do have some similar personality traits. So, I mean, I think probably a lot of what we do, or just my demeanor and how we approach things. I know certainly in the playoffs, something Dad would always harp on that we did in Bremont, and I think he had gotten it from Coach Wood, was when you get into these deep playoff runs, it really kind of becomes a battle of attrition, and you got to be smart how you practice and, be 100%, for game time. And, that's something we've really tried to be intentional with how we're practicing right now in the postseason. And, not trying to play the game on Monday or Tuesday, but being fresh and being at a position to where we can give it our best on game night.
A lot of schools are used, Stanford, and not just with Gordon Wood, but even now, or other schools are used to playing 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 rounds deep year after year. Do you have now even more respect for those who have done it, and then also the extra practices, the ability, the experience for the younger underclassmen, but more respect for that now because what you're dealing with this year?
Oh, absolutely. And I always have. Going to the kids first, my first year here in Woodville, we went 10-2, and that was the year we got knocked out by Cameron. And the seniors from Cameron, every year they had been in high school up to that point, they had played for a state championship. So they had played 16 games. So going into that, those kids had played 25 playoff. They'd had 25 more practices than our seniors had. So I think that is tremendous. And that's one reason I think, since like you mentioned a while ago, you've seen those division splits, you see some of the teams that are there year in and year out. And where I have great respect is for somebody like Coach Fizell at Gunner or Scott Surratt in Carthage, is just like the tremendous grind. I mean, we're not afraid of hard work. We're not afraid of hours, but just like it's stressful. Even when you have a great season, best season in school history, it's like you don't want it to be over with. And, I've got a granddaughter in College Station, and I've seen her twice since football started. Just kind of not complaining about it. We all signed up for this.
Sure.
But when you look at what Scott's done in Carthage over a 17-year period, and you're basically from August 1st until Christmas time, you're coaching ball, and you've done that year in, year out. I mean, that's a testament to his personal grit. And I was talking to a coach a couple of weeks ago, a guy who had won multiple. Everybody's heard him. I'm not going to say his name, but at a very, very tradition-rich program, and they had won 3 state titles. And, the stress of maintaining that, and you get beat in the semifinals, and now all of a sudden, you're an idiot. You can become a victim of your own success. So those guys that are doing this year in and year out, man, it is, those are special guys.
John King at Longview told me that when they won it, his son was a junior. Haynes is now at Georgia Tech and having a nice run, almost beat Georgia. That when he was there, Pat Collins was the AD, and that, of course, brought John with him from Louisiana when he took over at Longview. And he won the state title. And I don't even know if it was an hour after the game ended or the next day when Pat said, enjoy this as much as you can, but you just created a bigger monster. Because Longview, of course, had been knocking on that door for like 70 years. And he said now it's more difficult than ever before, which is kind of alluding to what you had mentioned. What kind of football player were you at Bremond?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't run out of sight in a day. We had a pretty good team. We were fortunate enough to play for a state championship. We got beat by Sudan. But we had some really good players, probably one of the best running backs in 1A history, a kid named Monte Williams.
Yep.
Jeff played with my brother. They're the same age from the 80s. And then Jeff's brother, Robbie, who was he's my age. He's on staff there in Bremond. We had played together. But no, we were pretty good.
Tidehaven, that's next. They beat Lexington, who's a team that had a very potent offense with the Evans, the quarterback, and much, much more. They're 12-2. Your thoughts about who they are? They've had Ganado, of course, beat them up, but we know how good they are. Your scouting report on the Tigers of Tidehaven.
I know their coach pretty well, David Lucio. We were before I got to Woodville, I was the head coach in Yorktown, and he was the head coach in Louise. And that was a district game for us, and we had a couple of battles. He is even then, before he had the success he's had at Tidehaven, he's really. I genuinely believe he's one of the best coaches in Texas. With where they were at, what they've done now, he's going to have an answer for everything. His kids are extremely tough, very well disciplined. They execute very well, very sound defensively. Not as talented as say like Dangerfield is, but they're going to make up for it in effort, in grit, and physicality. I don't really see any weaknesses on their team at all.
One more thing, and Ty Robinson has been Agua Dulce, and then of Overton, and then Woodville too, and here they are now in the semifinals. You have always been pretty opinionated about more than just football. I ask you every year, wherever you've been about, I have that online, I guess you could say coaching forum. I'm not going to get into all of it, but you have always been very opinionated. Is that always who you've been about the way this country is or the way things are run? Because you're not afraid to say it.
No, I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about public education. I'm very passionate about the importance of athletics. I'm very passionate about really how important football is with the state of our country right now. I really believe this, that we have issues in public education that need to be fixed. This whole thing with we won't get into the whole voucher thing, but with the way the family structure is in our country, where else are people going to learn to be tough? Where else are people going to learn to be able to react to adversity? Where else are people going to be able to learn teamwork? Everything else there's like lack of accountability. Everything, your situation, it's somebody else's fault. And, you don't have that on the football field. You don't have that on the court. I believe athletics is critically important. I believe a lot of decisions that are being made in Washington and Austin are very detrimental to that. I resent the fact, and I'm, so like I was born in Stanford. My dad played for Gordon Wood, so I'm like the history of Texas high school football and all of this. And then when you see how important that is, you grew up in a place like Bremond, and how important that is to communities, and then what a good program can do. And then you watch a lot of these things that are coming out of Austin or Washington, D.C. that are really putting that at risk. And it upsets me. I'm
going to put this out there to close it out with you, man. It's good to see you. Good luck this week with Tidehaven. The Woodville program, I don't know exactly what year it began, but I think it was in 1923. At least that's what I have for my historical section on the website. From 1923 to 1981, they never won 10 games. Melvin Houston won 10 games in 1982. And then nothing again. Not that they didn't win a little bit, but never again 10 wins until Ty Robinson took over in 2016. And now they've done it 3 times in his time
as the head coach at Woodville in 16-18, and, of course, the best year ever so far with more fish to fry, more to eat here in 2024. That says a lot. I love to have that historical section for reasons like that, Ty. Congratulations on what you've done, but I know you're not finished.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you've done over the years for high school football. And, hopefully we can hope we get another week.
Thank you, man. Ty Robinson, head football coach of the Eagles of Woodville. They played Tidehaven this week and in the 3A Division II semifinals. Coming up next, one of the great people in the business, as Ty Robinson mentioned, and why athletics so important. Not just a great football coach, but a great man. Don Hyde, the head coach at La Vega, is next on the Statewide High School Football Podcast.
Make this the summer of Ram at Peters Ram in Longview. Introducing the all-new 2025 Ram 1500 with available 420 horsepower and 540 foot-pounds of torque, starting at an affordable $47,995. Or get $4,000 off the all-new 2025 1500 Limited with available 540 horsepower and 521 foot-pounds of torque. Need something for work? The Ram 1500 Classic starting at $36,999. Peters Ram in Longview has the largest selection of the hardest-working new trucks in the industry. Online at peterscars.com.
At Genco, our goal is to build long-lasting relationships while providing complete financial solutions for each step of life's journey. Our members enjoy fewer fees, lower rates on loans of all types, and higher yields on a wide variety of savings options. That's just a small part of the credit union difference. Visit Genco online, on Facebook, or come by one of our 5 locations today. Apply online for membership. Genco FCU, NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
Ghost Hydration is a fully transparent, fully loaded, full-flavored hydration drink that we've all been waiting for. Ghost is caffeine-free with electrolytes, 0 sugar, and low sodium that'll hydrate your body before, during, and after your workout. Consumer loved with authentic flavors, so grab and enjoy a Sour Patch Kids Blue Raspberry and Red Berry, along with the Kiwi Strawberry, Orange Squeeze, or Lemon Lime. Ghost Hydration can truly be used anytime. Remember, it's formulated for sports, but made for life.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
I have a lot of coaches that I just, for whatever reason, can pretty much talk about anything with them. And now, a lot of them, I think. I mentioned about Mike Owens, who passed away, the former league coach, and we could share anything personally, professionally, whatever. And here's another one. And I mean this. And one of the things about what we do now on 365 Sports, which is so much college football, we still have this podcast. I still have my high school website, but I don't get to see coaches nearly enough, and it's great to see the face of Don Hyde. How you been, my buddy?
Oh, Smoke, I'm just here. Happy to be here. Happy to be on your show. Happy to be playing in the semifinals of the UIL high school football playoffs, and just happy to be a part of the team that we put together here at La Vega High School.
Well, you've got Wimberley, and they're a team that has made deep runs a lot. Of course, La Vega with the history with you on staff with Willie, and then what you did yourself and what you're doing again. The last 2 or 3 years have been a little bit rough as far as not being able to get that like momentum and deep runs in the playoffs. How refreshing is this so far this year?
Oh, it's really refreshing. I mean, the kids kind of bought into what we're selling. We knew this would be a special group. We're still young. this group that we've got is we've got a bunch of sophomores and juniors that play on the field for us, and of course we got some special seniors that are part of this program that have been part of this program for a long time. And anytime you can put those kind of groups together, you got something special. And we kind of felt that before the season, and we've kind of continued on that trajectory, even though playing a very difficult non-district schedule. And the kids have just bought into what we're selling, and they do a heck of a job for us every single day.
You opened with a win against Kennedale. That's a great program. Then, of course, Salina might be pound for pound so far this year as good as anybody with what they've done, not against just you but others, and they're still alive. And then you, of course, had the rematch and beat West Orange Stark. What did you learn from that game against Salina?
I learned we could play with a great football team. They may be the best team we've played in a long time outside of Carthage in 19, and some of the Argyle teams we played, and some of the Stephenville teams that won the state championship. I mean, they're a complete football team. They've got size, they can pound it at you. They got skill on the outside. They got a good running back, and their quarterback is really, really talented. And we knew that going in. We were worried about a couple of things, and they did those things to us, of course. But, I mean, with 3 minutes to go in the game, we're down 28-27 because of my stupidity. I went for 2 instead of kicking it to tie the game up. And I felt like it just kind of took the wind out of ourselves or our kids. And I think we come out and after that we throw a pick 6 and then we fumble the kickoff that's coming back to us and they get it. So they scored 14 really quick. We ended up losing 49-27, but with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, we're very much in the game. And we knew right then we had something that could possibly be special.
Well, and now here you are, and we showed a couple of clips of Bryson Rowland. I'll never forget what you told me. I think you may have said this to me or something similar, that he's hard to tackle in a phone booth. And I know he's had to battle some injuries along the way, but this year he has been as good as ever, and 300 yards against Sealy. And kind of describe him, and also his journey from when he just shows up one year, I think as a freshman, and where he is now today as a senior.
I mean, first and foremost, he may be one of the best kids we've ever had around here as far as a person, and his attitude is infectious. He's a kid who don't believe he believes he can do anything that there is to do. He's one of our best defensive football players too. We don't use him very much, but he's one of our best defensive football players. If there's a crease, he's going to find it. If he's got to break a tackle and make something happen, he's going to do that as well. He's just a phenomenal kid. I mean, he's just one of them kids that you want on your team. We knew he was special. He played quarterback for us in the junior high, 7th and 8th grade. Came up here to the high school, and we put him in there on scout team, and he's just running through us like water through a colander. And before we knew it, we inserted him in as a freshman, and heck, I think he gained 1,800, 1,900 yards as a freshman running the ball, and then the sophomore, he got dinged up a little bit, and we had to use him sparingly on early in the year, and he battled some abdominal strain that caused him to hurt pulling his leg up and down, and so we kind of had to rest him for a while, and then he came back and still rushed for 1,000 yards, I think. And then last year he had a great season, and then this year he's just been dynamic for us. We struggled running the ball in a win at Gatesville, and we struggled running the ball in a win here at China Spring. And after the game, how I am. I believe it's when you win, you're supposed to be harder on your team than when you lose. And so we won, and I told our offensive line after that China Spring game in our place, I said, this is the worst offensive line play I've ever seen at Vega High School. We can't run the ball very well right now because we're not getting after it up front. We're not blocking very well. And I challenged those big guys up front, and I'm telling you right now, we came out the next week against Robinson. I think we rushed for 425 yards or something like that, and we've been going ever since. And so as good as Bryson is, he's not real good without them 5-6 guys up front blocking for him, and they've done a phenomenal job ever since that Robinson game, and we hope to continue it on this week.
By the way, Chris Lancaster, who's the head coach at Robinson, where you went to high school, and you know Chris very well, he said La Vega's incredibly well coached. Coach Hyde does a great job with the discipline. Their defense is good. They have a stud defensive end. That's the young man Warren Richardson, I think, who was a wide receiver prior to coming to La Vega.
Very solid offensive line with really good size. The quarterback, the sophomore, is good. The wide receiver, of course, that is Thornton. Jabari Thornton is a stud. Is that, now I know there's other names. I don't want to be like everyone wins a ribbon, but does that kind of mention your team pretty well?
Well, I appreciate Coach Lancaster saying that about our program, because we take pride in the program we put together here at Vega High School over the course of many years. And it all started with Coach Williams, our athletic director now. And, we just work hard every day. Our kids work hard every day. Our coaches work hard every day. We want to put the best product on the field on Friday nights that we can put on the field to represent this school district and the best superintendent in the state of Texas, Dr. Sharon Shields. And so we've got some kids now. I'm going to tell you right now, he's not wrong. We've got some kids. Richardson's done a fabulous job for us at defensive end. We kind of converted him. Jabari out there at the outside receiver is a hard matchup for any team we play. Of course, Bryson is very, very capable of running the football. And then we got some other kids on defense that are pretty good at getting to the football. One thing we do is rally the football. We coach alignment, keys, and tackling. Line up correctly, know what you're looking at, and then play as fast as you can play and tackle a man with a ball. And to date, right now, we've done a pretty good job of that.
You mentioned Thornton. I saw Junior when he was at Midway, and, of course, eventually played for you, and he's a dynamic player. And Jabari is already getting notice from SEC schools and big Power 4 schools around the country. He is electric, I guess, is a pretty good way to look at it.
Hey, he's good. I'm telling you. I mean, I don't know that I've seen a receiver in a long time that's quite as good as he is. As a matter of fact, a good friend of mine who's a vice president of Balfour State Championship rings and rings in general all through Texas, and he's been to watch us play 2 or 3 times. And we was playing the other night, and he's on the sideline. He after something happened, he said, "Coach, that kid's better than CD Lamb right now." And so the kid's dynamic. I've seen him make some catches that I've never seen anybody else make in practice. He's unbelievable.
Courtney Parr, the sophomore quarterback, you have to have stability there, and he's a youngin', but also has given you some that glue factor. Kind of describe how he became your starting quarterback and what he's done for you this year.
Well, we've got 2 really good quarterbacks is the crazy part, and so he's managed the game for us, and at La Vega, and he's put the ball in the right spots, and he's we preach all the time KYP, which means know your personnel. And so in certain situations, know who you got to get the ball to. And so he's done a good job of that for us. The other kid, Javen Hernandez, is also a pretty good quarterback. And so we feel, and we played both of them quite a bit this year. And so we feel like we could get by with either one of them. Courtney just kind of stepped up at certain points and has been our leader on the offense at the quarterback position since probably about week 3 or week 4. And so we've been really pleased with his play as a sophomore. Once again, we knew he's going to be special in the junior high. He's got a dynamic arm, a live arm. He's a big kid. He's about 6'2", 6'3", 190 pounds as a sophomore. And we got to get him a little faster, but he's a fabulous kid for us.
Yeah, and you got 2 underclassmen at that spot. I mean, that's like a wealth of riches to have what Courtney's done and also what Javen's done also at that position. All right, you shared this with me back in when I asked for online coaching information that Cade Balch, defensive lineman, he and his father had to deal with some, not just adversity, but a near tragedy back in 2009. Was their house their house burned down and they were in? Well, give me an update on that, because I know his father is on your staff.
Coach Balch, I've known Coach Balch for a long time. Coach Balch came to work here for us in 2009. And so matter of fact, my wife and I were supposed to pick him and his wife up the very next day to go to coaching school in San Antonio. And so I got a phone call from a guy that I'd known and said, "Hey, man, something's up, and you might want to run over to Coach Balch's house." And so, and I did. And by the time I got there, everything had already kind of evaporated or went away. But Coach Balch was basically in his yard getting his lawn ready. He's a big meticulous guy for his lawn, and so his kids were playing around the garage, and a fire occurred, and a rough deal, very rough deal. Lost his youngest son to that fire. Coach Balch heroically, of course, ran in the garage and got one out, and then heroically went back here and tried to get the other one out, and just a rough deal. And it's something that that him and his wife have done a fabulous job continuing on their relationship and done a fabulous job of honoring the memory of their son, who was a young man at the time, and just a terrible ordeal, and something that of course Cade was in the hospital with 3rd-degree burns from his knees down, and it's just something he's overcome as well. And so, I mean, it's a remarkable story. It's one he doesn't like to talk about very much.
Sure.
And, I'm just honored to coach Cade, and I'm honored to have Coach Balch on my staff because of their ability to overcome adversity that's existed in their lives. And of course, his wife Tammy is one of our great friends. So it's a blessing to be around people like that, and we certainly thank God for the situation they're in today.
Well, and good luck again, and God bless them and what they've dealt with, and also what they've also shown as far as resiliency in overcoming that. Don, you've won a state championship. You've been an assistant with Willie when he won it back in when beat Argyle in Houston. In fact, we broadcast that game. Then you won it your first year as head coach after Willie's long run. Did that just and then the next year, I think it was Carthage that got you. How much has that fueled your fire the last few years, and being a part of that, getting there after a long stretch with La Vega, and now on the verge, if you could take care of business against Wimberley, of getting back to AT&T Stadium?
I'm not sure that from a personal standpoint, it's something that I have to have or I crave. I crave it for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing the kids get an opportunity to do something not very many people get to do in life, and be presented on that stage, seeing their face when they walk in that stadium, it's just an unbelievable situation for a coach. I mean, and my staff and myself, we're willing to do whatever we can to give our kids that opportunity to experience certain things like that.
On that form that I mentioned that I asked coaches to fill out, you said watching kids, I said, what's been your most exciting moment or game in your coaching career? And then you've won. You've been on a state championship with Willie on his staff, and then you won it yourself. But exactly what you put down there, watching kids achieve a goal that they set out to achieve. And when the light comes on for somebody, or they mature, or they learn from a lesson or a loss or a bad play or mistake, that is what it's all about. And your emotions, by the way, are why that I love talking to you whenever we possibly can. Tell me about Wimberley, other than the fact we know that they have made deep runs after deep runs after deep runs.
Oh, they're an unbelievable football team. They're like Coach Warren does a fabulous job. They've been here before. They've been here several times. Their quarterback, number 2, Stover, is an unbelievable talent. They got a really good offensive line up front. They're physical defensively, and just much like us, they're going to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And then they're going to attack you, and they're going to take care of the ball and block and do the things you got to do to be successful in high school football. And so, you don't have the longevity and the continued success that Wimberley experienced without a great leader. And Coach Warren is certainly a great leader. He's a lot like I am. It was kind of fun dealing with him and picking a fight and talking about officials and price and all that, because he's an old school guy like I am. And so there's not a whole lot of us left anymore. And it was just a true joy to visit with him and talk to him and get things ironed out rather quickly. And so I'll be looking forward to meeting him in person. I think I've seen him from afar at certain times, but I've never shook his hand and spoke to him individually. And so I'm looking forward to that Friday, and I'm looking forward to a great football game.
Yeah, you mentioned Dr. Shields, unbelievable with what she does, and Willie and the legacy he set there. And I'll always say that I've been a part of programs that had not won it all, but that day in Houston when you guys were able to win it, and then the parade and all of that, the banquet, I'll never forget that, what you did back when the win against Argyle. You're one of my favorites, man. I'm thrilled for you. And also, as you mentioned, your staff and your players as well. I know La Vega Pirates will be there in Georgetown with all the fans for a game against Wimberley on Friday night. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Thanks, Smoke. And once again, I'll just echo what the coach from, I know his name.
Ty Robinson.
Yeah, Coach Robinson echoed when he talked to you. There's a lot of people in Texas that do a lot for high school football. not sure there's anyone who does more than you. And so we certainly appreciate you at La Vega High School, and I know coaches throughout the state of Texas appreciate you.
Thank you, bud. Good luck. Don Hyde, La Vega High School, a great one, and appreciate that. They have Wimberley coming up. They play that game on Friday. It's in Georgetown in the 4A Division II, 7 o'clock. The winner will either get Brock or Carthage on the following week. They're playing on Friday night in McKinney. When we come back, state championship week is around the corner. I believe there are 16 games coming up this week. We'll get to all of them and a little bit of note about a few of them. David Smoke with Garrett Ross, the Texas High School Football Podcast continues.
When you need power, performance, and head-turning style, you need Peters Chevrolet. Check out the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado. 1.9% for 36 months with discounts up to $10,000 off on custom crew cabs. 2024 Silverado prices starting at $36,995. Whether you work hard or play hard, take your pick out of the largest selection of new Chevrolets at Peters Chevrolet. Online at peterscars.net. Peters Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
El Conquistador Restaurants are a very proud sponsor of the Midway Panthers, have been owned and operated by the Gonzalez family since 1969. El Conquistador is recognized annually as a local favorite with their fast and friendly service. Dine in or order takeout and enjoy your favorite Tex-Mex items as well as several traditional menu items. Catering is also available with 3 locations to serve you: Waco, Belmead, and Hillsboro. The Gonzalez family thanks you in Waco and the surrounding area for your continued support of 55 years in business. Go Panthers!
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgin Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Final segment of this particular show, semifinal week, and we look at the games, the matchups, and maybe a note or two about some of the games and some of the programs that we will show you on this screen. Now, I do this every week. Now, we had a couple of weeks when we couldn't do a show, National Signing Day, whatever, Thanksgiving. If you look at the sheet, first of all, look at the screen. On the left-hand side, don't worry about the left column. That's just how many games that are listed right now. The next column is what district that the team on the left is from. And the same thing on the right, where you see district next to certain teams. Here's the ones that matter. It's the third column. Not that any of the coaches who are not with that number next to them are like believing that, but the number to the left of the schools on the left column, where you see Jerry's picks, that's based on pigskinprep.com, Jerry Forrest, and his index. He ends everybody in Texas. If you're an outlaw, and I mean that not in a negative way, like 6-man program, you're not a part of the UIL, you're not a part of TAPS or TCIL or whatever it might be, he has your team and has a ranking for them based on who they play, who you play, and also others that are part of any classification you're involved with. Then you see the 2 teams. For example, the top row, Gunner and Wall. Why is that on the top? Because along with the game right below, Munster and also Groover, those 2 teams combined, you see 1 next to Gunner and 1 next to Munster, and then you see 3 next to Wall, 3 next to Groover. That's 4. That's the right number, the column on the right, and you will not see a very high number at all. That's the combined index rankings based on the classification of Gunner and Wall in 3A, and Munster and Groover, who's 14-0 in 2A. Keep going on down. North Crowley, we had Ray Gates on the show. Duncanville, we've had Reggie Samples on the show many times. Duncanville's trying to win 3 consecutive state titles, and North Crowley is trying to bring home a state title for that Fort Worth area. They just beat Allen. We mentioned that off the top of the show, 35-7. Then South Oak Cliff and Argyle. Coach Todd and Argyle, of course, a great game. South Oak Cliff 12-2. Their first 2 losses of the year were losses to, what did I have? They played Duncanville and North Shore. North Shore to open the year. Duncanville the next week. They lost, didn't blink. Then they beat Longview in week 3. And that's who they are. That ought to be a classic game right there. Salina, you heard what Don Hyde said. Maybe the most complete team he's coached against in a long time, since a team when he played against Carthage, I think it was in 2019. They're playing West Plains. What a great story it is for West Plains out of Canyon. Edna and Columbus. Now, Edna's a favorite. I'm mad at them. They beat my alma mater, Universal City Randolph, a couple of weeks ago in round 3. But, okay, they're good, 14-0. Schobel is the star quarterback at Columbus. His father, Matt, is also the head coach. North Shore and Westlake, great game. Denton Ryan, who just came off the win against Aledo and Highland Park. Carthage and Brock. Carthage is a 11-point pick. I know that Jet Surratt's putting up numbers, and they have the running backs, Edwards and Benny Smith, but their defense is playing at a really high level. In fact, at Carthage, their defense this year, where did I have that? I put up a note about their defense. They're allowing like 11 points per game. Their only loss was the opening game in a loss to Kilgore, who's in the 4A Division I state championship semifinals. Woodville, we highlighted them against Tidehaven. Shiner, man, I just love the way they play football, but also love what Jeff Kozowski's doing, his son at quarterback at Bremont. Ganado and Joaquin, 22-point pick. The Rams of Joaquin, Jared Jones, the coach, they're 4th place in their district, and look where they are. They're still alive, and they're still playing. Smithson Valley and Angleton. Also, Lavernia, first time they've ever been this deep in the playoffs as they play Kilgore. Kilgore is like throwing fruit in a blender. Hold on, I got to sneeze. I got to do this. I did it without like all over the place like my mom used to do. Also, Kilgore. Clint Fuller's got a hell of a team. I mentioned they had that win against Carthage. They have a loss or 2 to Gilmer, remember, by 2 earlier, and Henderson in a rivalry game. And I picked that when Henderson was a big underdog, but I said, hey, don't forget about that. From my ties in East Texas, I know those rivalries, and Henderson got him that day. Randall, they've won a bunch of games, a couple of close games of late against the Greyhounds of Bernie. When I was at Randolph, Bernie beat us 7-0 in the pouring down rain. Side story, me and a couple of guys, we missed the team bus from the field house. Yep, I'm admitting that. I'll have to kill you now because I admitted that. And we drove to Bernie, scared out of our minds, pouring down rain. We walked towards the field house, had no idea if our uniforms would be there and probably shouldn't have been, but they were. And it was so silent when we walked into the field house for that game, and then we lose the damn game to Bernie 7-0. Also, Malakoff, oh my goodness, beat Liberty Island's really good, 35-0, and now they get Paradise. What a great story that's been. Summer Creek, yep, they're still alive against Vandergrift. I've seen Vandergrift up close and what they do with that great program. They're Stanford, number 1 ranked in some polls at the start of the year, highly ranked again. They play Hamilton. They've never been here. Hamilton after the 1-point win against Axtell. And then South Lake Carroll, Riley Dodge, and Longview's John King, 2 programs and 2 coaches who appeared on this show. That will be a fantastic game coming up this weekend. Here are the teams who are left who have never won a state championship. Richmond Randall, West Plains, Lavernia, Paradise, Columbus, Hamilton, Woodville, and Joaquin. They've had runs, they've had pretty good runs, some deeper than others, but those schools have never won a state championship. So good luck to them, although a lot of the teams they're playing are friends of ours on those other staffs as well. So that's pretty interesting to see with all of what we have with the semifinal weekend. Then starting next Wednesday at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, the 6-man Class 1A state championship open up at 11 o'clock. Then there's an afternoon game, 6-man. Then there's the 2A championship game that night, and then 3 games Thursday, 3 games Friday, and then 3 games to wrap it up on Saturday, December the 21st. All right, Garrett, thank you very much. Thanks to Ty Robinson of Woodville. Also, Don Hyde from La Vega, thanks you. Thank you. Thanks to our great sponsor, Peter Chevrolet, and so many others. David Smoke, enjoy the next to the last weekend. I can't believe I'm saying that. Texas high school football does it best. 3rd and 2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peter Chevrolet.
Medlock, they fake it to him. James Keeper off the left side, breaks the tackle, into the secondary, skips away, and he will score. Touchdown, Duncanville.
Here's David Smoke.